This one is for the UFC 269 main event for the lightweight title. The defending champion Charles Oliveira, the Bronx, taking on the Diamond, Dustin Poirier. Of course, Dustin Poirier's second shot at the belt, the actual belt. Rough the first time around with Khabib, but there were a couple of moments. He landed a good shot, and Khabib looked kind of wobbled for a moment. I know people are gonna go nuts in the comments for that, insinuating some kind of weakness. It's ridiculous, but still, he caught him for a second. It looked hurt for a minute. Khabib, of course, like a champion, scrambled and was able to recover. And the guillotine was very tight as well. Poirier does have a good guillotine. He does have good neck attacks. He does have good grappling. He does have good wrestling. He's a good all-round fighter. He's still the same fighter that he was when he was in the WEC. I feel like I've said that to you guys before. But if you go back to his, I think it was it Grisby? It was his last fight in the WEC, and he came out swinging, and it was about a 60-second fight, and he just clubbed this guy. Let me find his name. Hang on a second. Against Zach Mickelwright, he went out swinging. It was a 53-second fight, and it was reckless. It was fun. It was effective. He's the same fighter now. He's just a more refined version of that same fighter. In the moments where he's throwing a barrage of shots against the fence, now he's got a little bit of a duck, a little bit of a shoulder guard for those shots coming back. Sometimes he'll tempt his way into range and then pull back while his opponent throws a shot. He's far more aware and far more mature in his game. It doesn't mean he's taken his foot off the gas in any way. It just means he breaks for corners now, which is much, much better. It leaves him less vulnerable. It also puts him in a position where he's very square against his opponent. So when he does go wading in with power, if they level change, they're level changing into square hips, which are very, very difficult to deal with as a wrestler. And you're also changing into a good neck attack game. Good darsas, good anacondas, good guillotines, etc. I think with Dustin Poirier, it's far clearer what you're going to get from him. I think we all know that Dustin Poirier is going to want to box in this fight. He might want to spend a bit of time in top position, but it will be standing over an open guard with Charles Oliveira crushed up against the fence. That's about the safest place for him to be. Standing is the safest place for him to be. I still think it would be safer for Dustin Poirier to be on the feet and to use his avalanche style attack to beat Charles Oliveira back up against the fence and to attack the body and to wear him out and to keep chopping into those low kicks, into those legs. Like, this is Southpaw v Orthodox, which does make the low kicks more difficult, especially if you're attacking the calf. So I do expect Poirier to be using some low kicks in this one, but then there's of course the risk of Charles Oliveira deciding that he wants to be offensive with his grappling. For Dustin Poirier, he wants to hold you against the fence and throw a volume of attacks, but there isn't necessarily the threat of the level change. It would be foolish, I think, for Dustin Poirier to try and shoot Charles Oliveira into the fence. He's going to find himself in the position that Clay Guida was in, where Charles Oliveira is working on his neck immediately. So the other option is for Poirier to be backed up against the fence, but then he's working to the beat of Charles Oliveira's drum. I really think the most logical thing for Poirier to do is to do kind of what he did against Gaethje, do that kind of pressure and pressure and release kind of style, where he'd move laterally around the fence and Gaethje would push forward, and then he would crash forward with a few shots and push Gaethje back into the center to give himself a bit more breathing room to move, and then Gaethje would start to try and chop him up against the fence again. He would continually do this, and each time he was crashing forward with more success because Gaethje was getting more timid. He was reacting to the shots a lot more. I think that would be a good game plan for Dustin Poirier, because that doesn't give Charles Oliveira the opportunity to just level change on his terms. It would make it a lot more difficult, and because Poirier is very good at stepping through with his punches. He throws a power shot off the right hand, then he steps through, the left hand comes over. Sometimes he'll stitch kicks on the end of it, like he did against Cub Swanson. Very good at traveling through distance. So by pushing Charles Oliveira back through the octagon and retaking the center, it allows him to flow through an attack of power shots, something which is most likely to land. The other thing that I need to talk about as well is the ace cards of Dustin Poirier. There are a few things that he does really well that are going to be of value in this fight. Of course, the neck attacks, which I've talked about, the square stance defending takedowns is going to be a real value to him, as well as stepping through and covering distance and, pushing Charles Oliveira back. But if he does get tangled up, Charles Oliveira is not the kind of fighter that needs to land in top position in order to do well. He can land on the bottom. He can be taken down like he was against Nick Lentz and use his butterfly hooks to elevate and sweep to top position. Basically, as soon as you land on the floor, it's you're kind of in his waters. So there's going to be a priority, you would think, for Dustin Poirier to be disengaging as quickly as possible, using his head position, getting his arms out the way, but staying in that range where he can still land his punches, but not getting too in where he's tangled up and he's got caught with overhooks and Charles Oliveira's grabbed the wrist. He's going to be jumping triangles. He's going to be dropping for ankles and stuff. So Poirier's got to play a very careful game of being aggressive, but not being reachable, not allowing Charles Oliveira to grab him and pull him in. That's going to be a real challenge for Poirier because he does tend to get caught up in the fight and he does tend to overstep. But I will say in his last few fights, particularly the first fight, the first rematch with McGregor, the second fight, where he trapped him up against the fence after the calf kick, where he retook the center and trapped McGregor and then threw a whole bunch of punches, a lot of which missed, but he adjusted that right hook that caught him on the forehead. That's Poirier's range. If he's able to bully Charles Oliveira and keep him in that range, it's going to make his life a lot safer because then Charles Oliveira is shooting out of pressure, and that is much better for Dustin Poirier. Good uppercuts, good hooks, good knees up the center, as we saw against Alvarez. And one other thing that I have to mention again, the neck attacks of Dustin Poirier. Charles Oliveira has been subbed a couple of times. He's been caught with guillotines. Exhaustion, fatigue, damage, pain, pressure, whatever it is, those things can break a fighter and can force them to do things they don't want to do. That's what Dustin Poirier is very good at making people do.